You think when she finally sees you've moved on, she'll just let you go peacefully. But the truth is, the moment she realizes she's truly lost you, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically, is the exact moment she'll treat you differently than she ever has before. Let me explain what's actually happening here because most men completely misread this situation. They think indifference from a woman means she never cared. They think silence means it's over. They think when she's not chasing, she's not thinking. Wrong. Dead wrong. What you're actually witnessing is her waiting for you to break. She's watching to see if this version of you, the one who stopped texting first, stopped explaining yourself, stopped being available whenever she felt like showing up, is real or just another phase. She's seen you pull back before. She's seen you go quiet for a few days, maybe a week, and then come crawling back with the same energy, same neediness, same pattern. So she waits, she tests, she assumes you'll crack. But here's what shifts everything. When you don't crack, when days become weeks and weeks become months, and there's no drunk text, no sudden reappearance, no emotional outburst, that's when it hits her. You're not playing a game. You're not trying to make her jealous. You've genuinely let go. And that realization changes her entire approach to you because she just lost something she thought was guaranteed. Your attention, your availability, your need for her validation. And the second she realizes she can't get that back on demand, her behavior towards you flips. If you're here because you're tired of people sugarcoating the truth, hit that subscribe button right now. You don't need this channel. But if you want to keep choosing reality over comfort, if you want reminders that will pull you out of weak moments and back into your power, then subscribe. This isn't about me. This is about you staying sharp. This is about you not falling back into patterns that cost you your peace. If that matters to you, subscribe and let's keep moving. Now let's break down what actually happens when she knows she's lost you. First, understand the misconception. Most men think that when they finally detach, the woman either won't notice or won't care. That's the belief. You've been the one chasing, the one initiating, the one trying to fix things every time they break. And in that dynamic, she had all the control. She knew you'd always be there. She knew your attention was a guarantee, so she treated it casually. Not because she's evil, but because human beings don't value what they don't fear losing. It's not personal. It's psychological. So you assume that when you stop, she'll just shrug and move on. You think she'll find someone else and forget you existed. But that's not what happens. What happens is this. The same woman who seemed indifferent to your presence becomes hyper-aware of your absence. She starts checking your social media, not obsessively, but regularly. She notices when you post. She notices when you don't. She sees you moving forward, improving, living your life, and something about that bothers her in a way she didn't expect. Not because she necessarily wants you back, but because she's lost control of the narrative. She was supposed to be the one who decided when it ended. She was supposed to be the one who walked away first. She was supposed to be the prize you kept chasing, but now you're not chasing. And that shift in power, it destabilizes her. Here's the hard truth. When a woman reaches back out after you've truly detached, it's rarely because she suddenly realized your value. It's because she needs to know she still has access. She needs to confirm that your detachment isn't real. She's testing whether you're still emotionally available, still reactive, still hers in some capacity. That's why the message comes in soft, casual. Hey, how have you been? I saw something that reminded me of you. Just wanted to check in. It's never direct. Because being direct would mean admitting she lost something, and she's not ready to admit that yet. And this is the moment that reveals everything about you. If you respond immediately, with excitement, with that old familiar energy, you failed. Not because responding is wrong, but because it shows her nothing actually changed. You were just on pause. You were just waiting for permission to care again. And once she confirms that, the dynamic resets. She pulls back. You chase. The cycle continues. But if you respond differently, calmly, briefly, without emotional charge, or if you don't respond at all, something else happens. She realizes the door isn't just closed, it's locked, not out of bitterness, but because you've built a completely different life on the other side of it. And that is when her treatment of you transforms entirely. Let's talk about why this happens. The root cause. Women are attracted to state, not words. They don't respond to what you say. They respond to who you are when you say it. And when you were chasing her, your state was one of lack. You needed her validation to feel whole. You needed her attention to feel valuable. You needed her approval to feel like you mattered. And she felt that. She felt the desperation under every text. She felt the neediness behind every compliment. She felt the fear that if she left, you'd fall apart. And that energy, no matter how kind, how patient, how understanding you were, killed attraction. Because attraction isn't built on need, it's built on respect. And you can't respect someone who doesn't respect themselves enough to walk away when they're not valued. But when you finally detach, when you stop seeking her approval, stop explaining yourself, stop making yourself available whenever she feels like showing up, your state changes. You're no longer operating from lack. You're operating from sufficiency. You don't need her to feel complete because you've made yourself complete. You don't need her validation because you've built your own. And that shift, it's not something you can fake. It's not something you can perform. It's something she feels. And the second she feels it, you become a different category of man in her mind. You go from the guy she had on standby to the guy she lost. And loss creates value in a way presence never did. Now let's talk about what this costs you when you don't understand it. If you stay in the chase, if you keep making yourself available to someone who treats your attention like it's optional, you lose more than time. You lose respect, hers and yours. Every time you accept breadcrumbs, every time you tolerate inconsistency, every time you let her come and go as she pleases without consequence, you're teaching her that your boundaries don't matter. You're showing her that your time, your energy, your peace are negotiable. And once she learns that, she'll never treat you like a priority. Because why would she? You've already shown her she doesn't have to. But it goes deeper than that. The real cost is internal. Every time you compromise your standards, every time you accept less than you deserve, you're eroding your own self-respect. You're training yourself to tolerate disrespect. You're conditioning yourself to believe that your needs don't matter as much as keeping someone else comfortable. And that pattern, it doesn't just affect this relationship. It affects every relationship. It affects how you show up at work, how you show up with friends, how you show up for yourself. Because once you learn to abandon yourself for someone else's approval, you'll do it everywhere. That's the real cost, not losing her, losing yourself. So here's the reframe. When she realizes she's lost you and her behavior changes, whether she reaches out, whether she starts showing interest, whether she suddenly wants to talk, that's not your cue to go back. That's your confirmation that you made the right choice, because the version of you she's responding to now is the version that doesn't need her. And the second you go back, the second you re-engage with that old energy, you become the version she didn't respect again. You can't go backwards and expect different results. You can't re-enter a dynamic that didn't serve you and expect it to serve you this time. The only way forward is forward. Let me paint you a picture of what the man who's truly detached looks like. He wakes up with purpose. He's not checking his phone, hoping her name appears. He's not scrolling her stories. He's not replaying old conversations, trying to figure out what went wrong. He's training. He's working. He's building. His energy is directed inward and forward, never backward. He doesn't avoid her out of fear. He's not dodging her messages because he's scared he'll fall back into old patterns. He's just indifferent. She's not on his mind. His business is on his mind. His health is on his mind. His future is on his mind. She's a chapter that's closed, not with anger, not with resentment, just with clarity. When he does interact with her, whether by chance or because she reaches out, he's calm, not cold, not distant in a bitter way, just unbothered. He's polite, he's respectful, but he's emotionally unavailable, not because he's protecting himself, but because he's genuinely not invested anymore. If she asks how he's doing, he answers. Briefly, honestly, without trying to impress her, without trying to make her jealous. He's just answering a question. If she tries to reignite something, he's not rude. He's just clear. He doesn't explain. He doesn't justify. He just says no and moves on. And that, more than anything, is what she's not used to. Because the old version of him always explained, always tried to make her understand. This version doesn't, because this version doesn't need her to understand. He's already moved on. Here's what you need to understand. This isn't about being cold. This isn't about building walls or shutting people out forever. This is about standards. This is about knowing the difference between someone who adds value to your life and someone who drains it. The man we're describing isn't incapable of connection. He's incapable of tolerating disrespect. He's not afraid of vulnerability. He's selective about who gets access to it. Emotional availability without boundaries is people-pleasing. Emotional availability with boundaries is self-respect. Learn the difference. And here's the paradox. The more you embody this energy, the more attractive you become. Not just to her, to everyone. Because confidence isn't loud. Confidence is quiet. It's the guy who doesn't need to prove anything, who doesn't need to defend himself, who doesn't need external validation to know his worth. People feel that. Women especially feel that. And the ones who are actually aligned with you, the ones who respect themselves, will respond to that energy in a completely different way than the ones who don't. The right people don't test your boundaries. They respect them. So let's talk about what you actually do. First, you stop reaching out completely. No just checking in texts. No liking her posts. No keeping the door cracked open just in case. You close it, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You redirect that energy into yourself, into your body, into your work, into your purpose. Every time you feel the urge to text her, you do 10 push-ups instead. Every time you want to check her social media, you read a page of a book instead. You physically retrain your brain to stop seeking validation from someone who doesn't value you. Second, you become outcome independent. You stop caring whether she comes back or not. You stop wondering if she's thinking about you. You stop hoping she'll realize what she lost. Because hoping is still attachment. Hoping means you're still giving her power over your emotional state. True detachment means you genuinely don't care what she does. You're not rooting for her to fail. You're not waiting for her to come back. You're just indifferent. And that takes time. It takes discipline. It takes redirecting your attention every single day until indifference becomes your default. Third, you raise your standards everywhere, not just with her, with everyone. You stop tolerating flaky friends. You stop accepting half effort at work. You stop letting people treat your time like it's optional, because the pattern that allowed her to disrespect you is the same pattern that's letting other people disrespect you. You fix it at the root. You become someone who doesn't negotiate on respect. And when you do that, your entire life changes, not just your relationships, everything. Fourth, you build undeniable evidence of your progress. You don't post about it for her to see. You do it for you. But the byproduct is that when she does see you, and she will, there's no question that you've moved on. You're in better shape. You're more focused. You're more successful. You're more at peace. And none of it has anything to do with her. That's what makes it powerful. It's not a performance. It's a transformation. And she'll feel the difference. Now let's address the moment she reaches back out, because she probably will. And when she does, you have to be ready. If she texts you, wait. Not as a game, but because you're genuinely busy living your life. When you do respond, keep it short, keep it neutral, no paragraphs, no explanations, no eagerness, just a simple acknowledgement. If she wants to meet up, you're not immediately available, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you actually have things going on. Your time is valuable now. You're not rearranging your life for someone who didn't respect it when they had full access. And if she asks why you changed, you don't explain. You don't give her a breakdown of your journey. You just say something like, I'm just focused on different things now. That's it. Because the truth is, you don't owe her an explanation. You don't owe her closure. You don't owe her anything. You've already given her more than enough. Now you're giving to yourself. Here's what most men get wrong. They think detachment is a strategy to get her back. It's not. Detachment is the outcome of choosing yourself. And if she comes back, great. But she's coming back to a version of you that doesn't need her. And if she doesn't come back, even better, because you've already moved on. Either way, you win. That's the position you want to be in, where you're not losing sleep over outcomes, where you're genuinely okay with whatever happens, because you've built a life that doesn't revolve around her. Let me tell you what happens when you fully commit to this. You stop thinking about her, not because you're forcing it, but because you're genuinely occupied with better things. You start attracting different energy. Women who respect boundaries, women who add value, women who don't play games because they don't have to. And when that happens, you'll look back at the version of yourself that was chasing someone who didn't value you, and you'll barely recognize him. You'll wonder how you tolerated what you tolerated. You'll wonder how you accepted what you accepted. And that realization, that's growth. That's evolution. That's you becoming the man you were always supposed to be. And here's the final truth. She'll notice. She'll see you with someone else, or she'll see you thriving alone, and something will shift in her. She'll reach out. She'll try to reconnect. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can go back to what didn't work, or you can keep moving forward toward what does. And if you've done the work, if you've truly detached, the choice will be easy, because you'll know that going back isn't an option, not because you're bitter, but because you've outgrown it. You are not the guy waiting for her to realize your value. You are the guy building value so undeniable that her realization doesn't matter. You are not the guy hoping she comes back. You are the guy moving forward, whether she does or not. You are not the guy who needs her to feel whole. You are the guy who's whole with or without her. That's who you are now. That's who you're becoming. And the more you step into that, the more everything else falls into place. If this hit you, if you need more of this truth, subscribe right now. This channel is for men who choose growth over comfort, who choose clarity over confusion, who choose themselves even when it's hard. If that's you, you belong here. Subscribe and let's keep building. You've got this. Now go prove it.